my name is Kim Cullen, and I'm a personal injury attorney in Winter Park, Florida. I recently read a newspaper article about an issue that has arisen in a civil case arising out of the Parkland Stoneman Douglas mass shooting that happened a couple of years ago. Probably anyone watching this video will know about this tragedy, but you may not know that a civil suit was filed a little while ago by the parents of the children who were killed in the massacre. And there are several defendants. One of them is the Broward County School Board. So the attorney for the Broward County School Board recently indicated that he was going to issue a subpoena for the psychiatric and psychological records of the parents of the deceased children. Even though it seems like a no-brainer to me that the parents of the children who were killed in that massacre would have suffered emotional pain and suffering damages. In other words, I don't know why someone's bringing that into question. But nevertheless, medical records and psychological records in this case are sometimes discoverable in personal injury or wrongful death cases. So the first thing to know about discovery like this is that typically records reflecting visits between patients and psychologists or patients and psychiatrists is considered to be confidential under Florida law, highly confidential. So typically that type of information would not be shared with anyone, and it would be a violation for the psychiatrist or psychologist to release any records unless the patient said it was okay or waived their privilege. However, there have been numerous cases in Florida over the years where the judges have ruled that psychological records can be discovered in personal injury cases if the emotional pain and suffering or the mental anguish of the injured person is at issue. So in a Florida wrongful death case, parents of young children who are killed have valid claims for emotional pain and suffering damages. So in the Parkland case, presumably the parents, because they're putting their emotional pain and suffering at issue, the parents' psychology records or psychiatric records would be discoverable. However, there are limitations on what can be discovered. And one of those limitations is that the information sought by the defendant has to be relevant to the issues that are present in the case. So for example, if one of the parents of the Parkland kids went to see a psychologist or psychiatrist 25 years ago, arguably that's not going to be relevant to the pain and suffering that they're suffering now because of the loss of their child. So there may be a chance for the attorneys for the plaintiffs to limit the type of discovery or the length of time of the medical records or psychology records that the defense will be able to get in that case. So it'll be interesting to follow that one and see how it turns out. Of course, the other option in any personal injury case is that the plaintiff can drop their claims for emotional pain and suffering damages or mental anguish damages, and if the plaintiff does that, then those records aren't discoverable at all. The defendants will never see them. And our clients sometimes choose to do this if there is information in their psychiatric records that they just don't want anyone else in the world to see. But in the Parkland case, it's very likely that emotional pain and suffering damages are the only claims that these parents have. So it's very unlikely that they'll drop their claims in that case. So if you have any questions about a Florida personal injury case or case involving mental anguish or mental pain and suffering damages or emotional pain and suffering damages, or psychiatric records or psychology records and whether they're privileged or confidential, then please reach out to us. We'd love to answer questions. You can easily reach me by calling our office at 407-254-4901. You can email me at kcullen@cullen-hemphill.com. You can even text our office at 407-644-4444. You can also find plenty of information about personal injury cases of all kinds on our website, which is cullen-hemphill.com. And you can even find over 199, I think we're over 200 now, videos on our YouTube channel.